Hello and welcome to Sparkling Autos. In this video we're going to go back and look at the Jaguar I did a few weeks ago using the Meguiar's Ultimate range, just to see how the protection was holding up after 4 weeks in the real world. And in those 4 weeks the car was exposed to wintry, muddy roads, salt, just the usual. It was still the winter months at that stage. So we're going to give the car a quick pre-wash, a 2-bucket maintenance wash and dry it off just to see how the Ultimate liquid wax is holding up. Another reason for doing this is, when I started this channel, I didn't just want to be one of those channels where you test a product and you never go back and look at it again. If I apply a protection to the car, I want to go back a few weeks later and see how that protection's holding up, because that's how these products are in the real world. What's it like after 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 months? Do they hold up to their claims? So that's what we're going to look at today. First thing I want to do then, before applying any chemicals to the bodywork, is to remove as much of the light dust as possible. And this will give the first indication of how the protection is actually holding up, because it should be forming a protective barrier between the clear coat and the elements. And we can assess how effective that barrier is by seeing how easy it is to remove light dust and dirt from the car, using nothing more than a pressure washer. And even if there's no protection on the car, a pre-rinse is still a good idea, because you're going to remove as much dirt as possible before you've even wasted any chemicals on it, and that will then allow the pre-wash chemicals to attack the dirt that's underneath the dirt that would rinse off in the first place. Makes sense? Crystal clear. And we can see on the bonnet here, before we've used any cleaning products on the car, that the protection is still holding up reasonably well. It's sheeting off relatively quickly on the very large flat bonnet. So let's see how it holds up after we actually clean the car properly. As always, in with the wheels first. So just like the first video, I'm using the GB Detailing Orbit wheel cleaner as like a pre-soak, and fill the bucket with hot water and 10 milliliters of Garage Therapy 1 wheel shampoo. So first of all, I did the wheel faces with the soft bristled Vicane wheel brush, and rinse the brush out after I do roughly a quarter of the wheel. And don't forget to turn the power hose on if you're going to rinse your brushes out. There we go. This way you won't put any brake dust or dirt contaminants back into your nice clean sooty water. Otherwise, by the time you get to the end, that water is going to be as black as this Jaguar. Then use a small detailing brush for around the wheel nuts and just the parts that the Vicane brush doesn't fit into. Rinse it back in the bucket and then out with the tire brush. Now you can use an APC or dedicated tire cleaner, whatever you want. I just used the soapy solution to clean the tire on this occasion, because they were only cleaned a few weeks earlier and I knew they wouldn't be too bad. And finally, giving the barrels a once over with the wheel barrel brush. And again, rinsing the brush out before putting it back in the bucket each time. Finally, rinse the wheel down thoroughly, make sure you get all the product out, and remember that you have another 3 to do. Moving on then to the pre-wash stage. So for this I'm using the Bilt Hamber Autofoam at 2% PIR. If you're not sure what PIR is, click the link above. Take you to a very short 4-minute video explaining your panel impact ratio and how to actually calculate it. But if you do click the link, do remember to come back and watch the rest of this video. And the reason I use the Bilt Hamber Autofoam is it's a very effective pre-wash snow foam, and when I use it, I don't need to use any other TFRs or pre-wash products. This does everything I need, and I only need to let it dwell in the car for 3 or 4 minutes. Because obviously, if you can minimize the amount of chemicals you're spraying onto the car, you're going to prolong the life of the last stage protection. So after allowing the product to dwell for a few minutes, I rinse it off from the bottom up. And as I explain in every video, this is a personal preference. It means I can see exactly which parts of the car I've rinsed off, and I'm not going to leave any product on there. I've said this before, but to me, pre-washing the vehicle is the most important part of the actual wash process, because the more dirt and contaminants I can remove here, the less chance there is of me causing any damage to the paintwork when it comes to doing the contact wash stage. If you've done your pre-wash and rinsed the car off and you can still see dirt or anything else on the car that you're not happy with, don't be afraid to go over it again with more pre-wash product, and even stronger if need be. I know that might sound contradictory compared to what I said a minute ago about minimising the amount of chemicals you use, but at the end of the day, removing contaminants to protect the paintwork is much more important than protecting the protection. So here we can look at the water behaviour on the bonnet again, now that we've done our pre-wash and removed most of the surface contaminants. And you can see it's still shading. It's not the fastest shader in the world, but it is still doing its job, I suppose. So we'll try flooding it with water and see how it behaves then. I should also add though that the camera angle is actually obscuring things here. Although it looks like the bonnet is sloping down, the driveway is actually sloping back, so the bonnet is pretty much on a horizontal plane here, as you'll see with the difference in the water behaviour on the side panels in a few seconds. So as you can see here on the vertical panel, it does sheet faster, but it's not mind-blowingly fast, but it is definitely quicker than the bonnet. Now we move on to our safe 2-bucket contact wash, or whatever you like to call it. Now don't worry, I'm not going to bore you to death by explaining this step by step. I've recently made a video on this very subject of washing the car in direct sunlight, which I would encourage you to check out, obviously, and like. But the basic gist of it is to wash the car in sections and rinse it off each time, keeping the paintwork cool. That's the long and short of it, and that's what I'm doing in this video. As I've said, I'm not going to explain this step by step. I'll just let you watch me struggle with my lockdown hair to go around the car and give it a good clean. Just want to say one thing here that'll be irrelevant to 99.9% of you, but Paul, this bit's for you. And if you're confused by that, don't worry about it, it's just an inside joke. So for now, as I say, we'll go back to washing the car, a few slow motion shots, a few pad flips, just enjoy it and listen to the music. And if you do enjoy the music, just remember that it's by Stu Preston and you can watch his YouTube channel. I would encourage you to subscribe to it just to help support him, because he has helped support me get to where I am. And you can do that by clicking the relevant links below. Welcome back. So now that we've finished rinsing the car off, I'll have a look at the protection now and see how it's doing. And as you can see, it sheets, but it's not mind blowing. It's not great. It seems to come off the wing mirrors a lot faster, but on the doors and the side panels, it's alright, but I'm not blown away by this, to be perfectly honest with you, after 1 month. To be fair, the product itself doesn't make any longevity claims, but I would expect better after 1 month. Now we move on to drying the car. Now in this occasion I'm using the towel from SGCB. Now if you subscribe to the channel, you will have heard me rave about SGCB products in the past, particularly with the polishing pads and buffing cloths, etc. Now this drying towel, unfortunately I can't put in the same category. As much as I want to, I just don't find it to be a particularly good towel compared to ones I have used. It doesn't absorb as much water as I would expect, and to be brutally honest, it actually feels quite grabby going across the paintwork, which isn't really a quality you look for in a drying towel. I don't like to be overly critical, particularly of a brand that I do like most of their products, but I have to be honest, this drying towel just isn't for me and I probably won't be using it again. So I think I need to inject a bit of positivity back into this video, so let's move on to the tyre dressing. And for this I'm using the GB Detailing ONYX, I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced, which is quite a high gloss tyre dressing. Now the application is pretty standard for a tyre dressing. Put some onto an applicator pad, rub it around the tyre and leave it to dry. If you want extra gloss, apply a second coat. The only thing to remember, as with most tyre dressings, is to ensure you buff off the excess afterwards, otherwise it could end up being flung all over your bodywork. So that's us finished, and as much as I may have been a bit critical about the water behaviour with the protection, I still think the gloss levels are spot on. The car looks great, and all we've done here is give it a wash and a dry. There's been no finishing products used, just what was already on the car. I think it still looks pretty good. And then for the tyres, I think the one coat was plenty, and it just sets it off nicely. So anyway, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video, leave comments below if there's anything you'd like to say or anything you'd like to see in the future. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, bye bye.